Greets peeps, this is Tony the Hero of Flanders. Flander... Right, so the last thing we were talking about was the diplomacy options. We have a diplomat free. We have nothing to do with him. We need to decide what we want to do with him this month. We've recently given away a whole bunch of land, vastly decreased our income, caused a soon-to-become coup attempt, just generally had a nightmare, all with plans of increasing our chances of joining the HRE. Those haven't worked. My manoeuvres actually made it harder to join the HRE. So we're going to need to vassalize to annex Nevers before we do that. It's just a cluster. We've had a real nightmare here. But that's okay. We'll come back better and brighter and cooler and more attractive to women. We do have this diplomat free though. Ideally, I want him to be working to cement our relations with the von Habsburgs and with Friedrich in Austria, but we're on that cooldown because we just got allied to them last month. So let's instead focus somewhere else. What we'll do is we'll have a look at Provence. Provence is they're allied with France. If we claim there, then we create a land bridge that we desperately need. We can't vassalize them because they're too big. No, they're not too big. Okay, that could be an option. We can't vassalize these guys diplomatically. There's no chance. They've got their own subject in Lorraine, but I think their total 37, 47, 50, 64, 64, 78. Yeah, okay, wouldn't work. So what I was doing there was I was counting up the province scores for each of these. That's 17, 30, what did I say, 47, 50, 51, I've counted this wrong, I'm pretty sure. Let's do it again. 17, 47, I'm counting these. 47, 54, 74, there we go. 54, yeah, 74, and then 88. Right, so to vassalize a nation you need to have 100% war score. Their total province war score value needs to be less than 100. This is fine. I could vassalize them directly, but actually that would work. I think if you vassalize someone who has a vassal, their vassal becomes your vassal, and they become your vassal also. So I could do that in a war. But in this game, to start a war, you need a casus belli. Casus, a cause, belli, war, a cause for war. So to create a casus belli, you can sometimes get them through missions actually, but there's very little chance that it'll happen to pop up exactly the one that we want. So what we can do is we can start building a spy network. Building a spy network will increase our spy network by 1.47 a month, and once it's larger than 25, there's a chance that they will recognize it, and it will damage our relations with the target country, and reduce the spy network size to any of a given size of 25, 50, 75, depending on what size your spy number is at, and your spy network is at, and then it will decrease as you go along. So, decrease while it's on cooldown for 2 years. For 2 years, I think it is. So it disappears, basically. This isn't a problem for us because all we want to do is fabricate one claim on this area here. If we fabricate a claim on this Burgundian area here, that will cost us 20 spy points. I'm going to do that because I've got a feeling that the claims last for 20 years and then they disappear. But if we do a claim here, I've got a feeling that within the next 20 years, France will declare war on us, Provence will likely join them, and we can then have if we win the war, which if we don't, we're likely dead anyway, if we win the war, we can hopefully demand Provence in a separate peace deal become our vassal. We'll take that land and then make them a vassal. That would then cause Lorraine, their own vassal, to join us, and we would be in a super good position with all of those guys and that against France, that we could probably just dismiss. We wouldn't have to rely on Austria to look after us. We might be able to handle France. So that's what we'll do. We're going to let this tick over for 1 month. In the meantime, actually, what did I want to do? There were other things I wanted to do. Yes. There's another part of the diplomacy window we haven't actually looked at yet, and that is our rivals. When the game starts up, countries rival one another. The reason for this is because if they're rivaling their allies' rivals, they get a bonus. They may want something from us. They may have some reason to dislike us historically. Why Denmark, Hungary, and Castile being proto-half of Spain, Castile, Hungary, and Denmark, why they've decided that we're a rival for them, I just don't know, but I don't much care. They're miles away from us. There's very little they can do to us with an ally like Austria on our back, and in fact, Hungary is allied to Austria anyway, so they won't be doing anything anytime soon. Hungary are a funny country in this. They there's lots of different things that can happen, lots of different ways that they can find themselves in trouble. So I'm not particularly concerned about any of those. I want to see if I can rival Provence. I don't have any particular reason to do it at the moment, and well, I do. The reason that would be useful to add an ally, add a rival, is because I get a bonus to spy networks when spying on them. But I've only got one spot I want to spy, want to claim anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal to me. The other reason for having rivals is because if you when you make a peace deal with them, it costs less to take their provinces. Sorry, when you're making a peace deal after a war, it costs less to take their stuff off them, and you get more prestige for fighting them, as you can see. But none of those are terrifically useful to me now. What I would potentially do is, if I was going to declare war on once I may do it to get that province a little bit more cheaply, but it's it wouldn't be something that I'd do in the meantime. In the long term, though, you do want to be having rivals, at least one. I think I have too few rivals. I need at least 3, otherwise I get a penalty to my power projection and score. Score I don't care about. It's not a big deal whatsoever. Score is just a way that I follow my own progress in the game, and yeah, it's a fun thing. Score, I don't much mind otherwise, but power projection is important. It has an in-game, I was going to say real life, it has a in-game impact, and that once you're over 50, you get 1 free monarch point every month. So that's huge. That's, I mean, it doesn't seem huge at the moment, but 1 free monarch point is very expensive to pay for. I'm paying 150 for 2 free monarch. I'm paying 1.5 ducats for 2 free monarch points. It would be worth 3 monarch points would cost me another $1, because that first guy was super cheap, and there's no way we could afford that. It is definitely worth getting our power projection up. So maybe, see, the problem is that in the situation that we're in, everyone is either our allies, all of these lot. Hang on, let's go to Diplomap. What is the Diplomap shortcut? Huh? I'm certain I have Diplomap on here. Oh, there we go, that's why. It's the second. You can, actually, that's a good point. With all these map modes, and I've got a lot, and I still haven't explained half of them, but that's cool, we'll come to them as we go. I'll explain them as we go. You can right click and add a second map mode, so you can sort of have alternate map modes. I've got my W key, and my W key acts as my primary Diplo mode, and then as my political map mode, and then my diplomatic map mode. So I can switch back and forth between them, see who's where, who's what. They should be. Oh, there we go. That seemed white before. Weird. Okay, but there's our allies. Blue, blue, cool. Actually, they've even got a tile next to me. How nice. Thinking about the future, how I could take that off them. So, what was I talking about? My God, I've managed to completely distract myself, imagining how I'm going to attack Austria in the future. So yes, there may be a good point. We may want to try to have a war with someone, but everyone here is either part of the HRE, which I think I've got on a backup key somewhere. No. Imperial. So everyone is either in the HRE, and therefore if I attack them, Provence will stomp me. Oh, sorry, Austria will stomp me. Or they are Provence, who is allied to France, and they will stomp me. Or they are England, who will stomp me. And that's everyone that I can actually create a casus belli on. So what I need to do is I need to do some annexing, get myself more powerful, keep my army just strong enough to help fight off any attacks against me. That's about it. This reminds me. Good, I'm not over my army limit. I was worried that giving away those provinces had put me over my army limit, but I haven't, apparently. So yeah, the only thing I can think to do is to hold fire. I couldn't go to war with them. No, they're... Oh, England are their rival. We could make England a rival. because that would actually give us a bonus to keeping these idiots off our back as well. And I could look to claim Calais, or better still give it to these clowns, who I will later annex. Interesting. Interestinger and interestinger. Yeah, we may not be powerful by ourselves, but with all of our little buddies helping us here, we've got a reasonable army. We would struggle against France, but we could maybe beat England, particularly if we had some help. So, yeah, we'll think about it. In the meantime, though, there's no rush to try and get this happening. We couldn't do enough damage to England to make it worth our while. What we might do is try and take an advantage of a situation where they're against France. So once I'm done getting this core here, getting this claim here, I should say, we might look to do a claim there as well, and we'll go from there. But in the meantime, let's let the month tick over. We'll get 1 tick of improvement. Actually, this is pointless because we need to improve with... do we need to improve with Austria? We don't... I was planning on improving with Austria, improving our relationship with Austria to help us join the HRE, but that's not going to happen. We can't get an opinion of them, of 260 from them, so there's sort of no reason to do it. I think what we do instead is we're now losing money because I gave away all those provinces. I'm going to sell our navy because it's not worth it. Let's see if there's anyone willing to buy our crud. Hey, maybe one of our allies wants to buy our poopy pants ships. That one. Nope. What about you? That one? Nope. What about... I could sell them to England. They don't want to buy them at all, that's weird. I thought they'd be keen. What about you, neighborino? Why does no one want to buy my dross? Sell to you. Hey, give me some money. What about these idiots? I can't sell, that's right, their arrival. What about these guys? Nope. Who else up here has money and would be interested? Oh, there we go. Oh god, they'll give us $10 for our superb fleet. Well, it's better than scuttling them, I guess. Oh, they'll pass $40. Yeah, get in, Norway, you can have them. So that income gave us inflation. So you get inflation from all sorts of weird things. Current inflation 0.16. So it increases all of our costs by a tiny amount. There's ways of reducing inflation is done there. I'm not going to bother unless we end up with heaps and heaps of inflation. The negligible cost won't have an impact. So that was a deal well done. We made some money, we reduced some cost, and are we almost back in the black? Oh, our guy isn't doing anything. Let's get him back to spying before the month ticks out. Pew pew. There we go, we're making money again. No, we're not. Yeah. I don't really mind losing money early on in the game, it's not a big deal. It's probably more important for me to have my army up in case France go full NATO on me. I don't expect they will. What you can do to keep an eye on your potential enemies is usually you can look at them and they'll Maybe if they're a rival, you can see what their plots are. Oh, there. Conquer Levant, we see in the diplomacy area. They don't have one. Neither do they. Finish the Reconquista. So Castile are going to be pushing out. They're pushing Granada out of the Iberian Peninsula. What's Austria's? No, Austria haven't got a mission either. Okay, so no one's got a mission, but France's one should show up here somewhere, and hopefully soon it will say take back Ingerand. We've got too few rivals, we've got a looming disaster. We can't do anything about either of those. Actually, can we? I have a feeling... When does this time out? November 45. Okay, so in a couple of months' time, by then our... Oh, this is a good point. Remember how previously our... when we dropped the army payments down, we saw that the bar turned brown. If we have a look here, we can see that it's mostly green, but there's some red at the top. That means our morale isn't at full. We've got 2.24 morale of a maximum of 3, and it will take 2 months? 2 months to get to full. God, that took longer than it should. My teachers would not be happy. Yeah, so in 2 months they'll be back to full. 2 months, July, August, September, and then in November we'll be ready to have a little fight with these idiots here. We didn't go through near enough diplomacy, did we? Poop. Okay, so let's go through the various options now. I'm wanting to wrap this one up because it's been going a lot longer than I expected. So, of all of the options in diplomacy menu against the against any other nation, you can declare war. Declare war. You need to have a casus belli. We'll have a look at those a little bit later on. There's all sorts of different casus belli, but you can declare war without a casus belli as well. But you take a stability hit. Stability is something we'll come to later on. You can offer an alliance. You can form a coalition against. When someone has been doing too much kicking ass around you, your opinion of them decreases, and if you have 50 aggressive expansion, that's something we'll get into later, against them, then you can form a coalition against them, and then when you declare war, all of your coalition partners declare war, and you all face off against the scary power. So there's a reason for not expanding too fast or focusing on one direction, one area in this game. Offer condottieri is offering your troops to support theirs in wars and things. They pay you a certain amount of money when it starts, and a certain amount of money each month thereafter. You can use this to make a good amount of money, but you can also we'll have a look at doing it later on. I'll see if there's someone that will accept a condottieri offer. Enforcing peace is what it is. If they like you enough, if they like you enough, and the person they're warring against likes you enough, then you can enforce the peace, and if not, then you go to war with them. It's kind of a, hey, you better step back, buddy, otherwise we're kicking off. But because you become the attacker, their allies will likely join in to defend them. It's tricky, but we'll see if we can do it later on. Offer vassalization is the one that we mentioned before. This is the diplomatic option. There's the war option, which is far more likely for me to do, so hopefully I'll try and do both. Proclaim guarantee. France has guaranteed a couple of people. They've guaranteed both Brittany and Scotland. why they've guaranteed those two is pretty much just because they don't like England. Um, that's cool, I can dig it, I can understand why, but guaranteeing also eats up one of their diplomatic slots. Where we've got 5 and we've gone over, they've got, I think they've got 5 as well because that's one of their options. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 diplomatic relations now. They, instead of looking to get a new ally in Castile maybe, or in any number of people will ally France happily, they've used it to guarantee these two idiots when they could likely ally them instead. Guaranteeing is a strange thing. It's yeah, it's weird. It's not something I use a great deal, but it's I don't know. It helps control your enemies a bit better. I don't get it personally. Send a warning says, hey, if you're if you start any wars, then I will attack you. You again are the aggressor, so their defenders attack you. So their allies will likely join to defend them. Not something I use often. I think that eats a Diplo spot as well, so it's again not very useful. Threaten war is a handy one. Says, hey buddy, give me that or I'll fight ya. Sometimes if you're much tougher than them and your allies are much tougher than them, then they will accede. Otherwise, it's pretty unlikely. You've got to be in a real dominant position to threaten war. But it's a really nice quick way to take a territory that you can't be bothered fighting someone for. Also useful when there's two huge alliances against one another would potentially come into the war, but you can usually, yeah, there's pros and cons for threaten war. I use it every now and then when I'm feeling lazy. Improve relations, we've already seen that. Send an insult. Sending an insult to will give the person a casus belli against you, and it also gives you power projection points if they're one of your rivals. So it's something I do every now and then, not often, but every now and then. Royal marriages we use heaps. We've already seen that. We've already added. We've done a couple of royal marriages to increase our friendship with other countries. There's another deeper game that I'll probably explain in another session of this. This is we're already way over time. Claim throne is okay. No, let's do it. So royal marriages. When you marry another country and they run out of heirs, you are able to, if you've got the same dynasty as them, as you will have. Oh, there we go. If you've got the same dynasty as them, you can claim their throne if there's no valid heir. That you then go to war, and you then can end up making them become a junior partner. There's also a situation where you just straight inherit their throne. I had that happen in the last game. I played as France just because I randomed it, and then thought, hey, I feel like playing a tough nation for once. Randomed France, owned most everything, had owned almost all the Americas, but primarily through playing the marriage game. I had claimed the throne of, I had married into Castile, and then one of my relatives took the throne somehow, and then there was a situation where there was no heir, so I said, hey boys, I'm now the new heir. Went to war with them and took them over, and with them Aragon, and with them all of their colonies over in the Americas. So it was brilliant. Yeah, it was fantastic. I then decided that I might try on the same thing with the Commonwealth. For years we were rivals, but then I thought, hey, listen, this would be a fun way to do it rather than just straight fighting them. And that did not work out. The Commonwealth is what happens when Poland and Lithuania combine, as they did in history. I've just been watching a whole bunch of stuff about it. It's really interesting. It was a very, very interesting thing that I knew nothing about before this game. So I married into the Commonwealth, and then my heir died, and then I died. And the Commonwealth just took straight over. So I had to fight a massive succession war. They took control of all of the colonies that I had control of. It was a nightmare, but it was very funny. I had to play it through because it was just too good. Yeah, so the marriage game is a really important part of the game. When you're Catholic, when you're a Christian nation, the marriage game doesn't work. It doesn't happen. You don't have personal unions in any of the other religions, which is a shame. I mean, I imagine there must have been, personal union mechanics in the rest of the world. I don't think it was exclusive to Europe. So it's a bit of a bummer that it doesn't exist, but for that reason Europe is super fun, and for that reason I've chosen Burgundy, because we've already somehow played and won the marriage game, because we've got Flanders, and we've got Brabant, and we've got Holland as junior partners of us. Yeah, so that's the marriage game. Long explanation, I know, but it's definitely worth it. Once they have no heir, you can claim the throne, and then you go to war for it, or if you're lucky, then you don't need to go to war for it, as the giant Commonwealth didn't need to, because both my heir and my ruler died, and so they by default became the next choice. It didn't work out too well for them because I gave them a kicking and got free, but that's very unlikely that any of these guys will give me a kicking, so we should be okay. Next ones, the covert actions. Building a spy network is what we're doing here. We're building a spy network so that we can fabricate a claim on Valois. But there's also counter-espionage. We'll stop them from spying on you. Supporting rebels. If we have lots of a big spy network, we can support rebels in their country. And when the rebels take over, when the rebels rise up, we'll get a casus belli to help support the rebels. We can steal their maps, which steals their maps. We can sow discontent, which makes their populace unhappy. We can sabotage their reputation, which reduces their ability to trade. We can infiltrate their administration, which lets us see what they see. We can agitate for liberty, which will make, so as we can see, target must be a subject. So agitate for liberty should be available for them, yep. But we need to have a spy network size of 90 on their... You can't spy on someone's vassal. You need to spy on their... Cannot build a spy network in a subject state. Spy on their overlord, Provence, instead. So I need to spy here, get that up to 90, then spend it there. It's all a little bit tricky. Agitate for liberty. I've never actually done that before. It happens so late on in the game that I'm normally not too fussed. If I'm still playing at that point, I'm not too fussed about freeing states. I'll just do the kicking around myself. Sabotage recruitment. As you might expect, reduces the amount that their manpower recovers each month. I think that's what it is. It's either that or it increases the cost of how much units cost to build. I think it's the latter, the former rather. Standard merchants. Oh, that reduces their... So sabotage reputation reduces their diplomatic their diplomatic rating, which we'll come to later. Slander merchants reduces their trade skills. Corrupt officials adds corruption to their country, which is just vicious. If you do that to a big country, it becomes super expensive. If you do that to a Ming, for example, that will cause some real trouble to their... No, not to Ming, actually, that's a bad call. Ming are always super rich. I don't know, if you do it to France, that will cause real trouble. Issue embargo is says that you're not allowed to trade with us and we're not going to trade with you. You do that against your rivals, that it increases your power projection, but it also adversely affects your trade if you're trading near their areas. It's a weird one. I only ever do it if they're not near any trade nodes that I'm a part of. Sell ships we used just before. I very rarely do that, so that was a bit of a surprise. Request to share maps is you can if it's someone who's friendly with you, you can you can spend your prestige to buy maps off them, but you have to have a unit near where where the area is that they're showing you. I'll try and do it later to show you. Send a gift. We haven't done that. Sending a gift just increases their opinion of you by up to 25, depending on how rich they are. It's not something we'll be doing anytime soon with our negative bank account. Loan offer. We can offer to lend money to the country. I've never done it successfully. I don't understand the mechanic. It doesn't seem to make sense. Countries offer you money quite regularly when you're at war with someone they don't like, but it's never. But it's usually at a slightly reduced rate of interest than what you would get from taking a loan here. But it doesn't ever seem worth it to me. Give subsidies, as I think I mentioned before. You can pay money to another country to help them fight a war that you can't involve yourself in or don't want to involve yourself in. Sell province. We can sell provinces to other nations. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give it to someone who I can get it back from for free later on, so I gave my provinces away, but I maybe should have sold the bloody things to France. It gives you it bumps your prestige down, and our prestige is not great as it is. Ask for military access. As it says, it allows your troops to walk through their lands. There's some real funny rules with military access regarding forts, which we'll come into later. There's zone of control rules, which are interesting. Ask for fleet basing rights. I think I mentioned this one as well. This is another source of income. Harbour fees. When you ask for fleet basing rights, you have to pay them money, and they have to like you in the first place. It's very rare. Offer fleet basing rights, you can do that to your allies, and sometimes they'll accept it, but not often. And offer military access is a great way to increase someone's opinion of you. They won't always take it, but when they do, their opinion increases by +10. So were we still trying to get Austria happy with us, that would be a good option. Usually most nations won't take it because there's no strategic interest to walking through your land, but you never know. Austria obviously like the idea because they can only get as far as the the Holy Roman Empire, so they can get through here, but they can't. But they could get to me and through my vassals as well if they had military access. So that's all of the diplomatic options. There's a lot of stuff there and a lot to explain. I'm feeling a little bit hoarse after that one. I'm going to have to go have a drink. Hopefully that explained a lot of stuff to you. I just realised there's two more. integrate. If you have a personal union over a junior personal union partner, you can integrate them. That costs, they need to like you a lot, and it costs you diplomatic points the same way as does annexing a vassal. You can also break vassalization, which I had forgotten about. You can also abandon maybe you can't. Maybe it's in a different DLC, but you can, perhaps in a different situation, perhaps with a different DLC, you can abandon a personal union. I think maybe it depends on how the personal union was formed. I'm guessing because we did it peacefully, maybe I can't abandon it. I'm not sure. I really don't know. Normally the vassals I get are ones that I get through war, and I use the annex vassal option on them, which in the same way as integrating, you spend a certain amount of, you spend your diplomatic rating of Diplo points each month, and until the total of 488 or whatever it might be is met. That doesn't even say how much it'll cost, unfortunately. And you keep spending that amount of Diplo points at your Diplo skill until that number is met, and then they join you. They're integrated. Designating a march is another option that will allow them to... They won't give you money each month, but they'll have more troops. They'll have... It cannot be annexed. Oh yes, that's a good point. Using a march, you can't annex them. You have to remove the march designation, and that makes them real unhappy. But they have more armies. So I'm going to tie this one off here. Pinch this one off. Yeah, good. So I'll leave this one here for the moment. I'll go let my voice box relax for a minute, and we'll be back with the next one. Hopefully that's everything explained. I'm certain I'll find other things that I've missed next time, well, in the future, but we'll explain them then. If you've got any questions though, feel free to ask, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much.